Hi, and welcome back as I continue my road trip around the beautiful state of Tasmania. In this video, I drive up into the Central Highlands, a region filled with misty, moody mountains and beautiful highland lakes, as I make my way to the west coast. So hop in, do up your seatbelt, and together, let's explore beautiful, wild Tasmania. Hi, we're going to start this episode at the pub, but not just any pub. This is the Bush Inn, established in 1815 and said to be Tasmania's oldest continuously used pub. You'll find this in the town of New Norfolk, about 40 minutes out of Hobart. Did I say Tasmania? I meant Australia. It's the oldest continuously licensed pub in Australia. And even though it's undergone a few renovations over the years, it still retains some of its original features, like the blackwood floorboards, the old fireplaces, and a baptismal font. This font is real. It came from a Methodist church in Hobart, and apparently they brought it here in the 1830s because they used to have sermons here. They used to use the pub as a chapel. They preached to their congregation in the old tap room. First licensee of this pub was a Mrs. Anne Bridger in 1825, and it is recognised apparently in the Guinness Book of Records as Australia's oldest continuously licensed pub. Imagine the stories that would have been told over the years. Some of them maybe even true. It's very cool. It's got a lot of authentic parts to it. And it, even though it's kind of modernised in some areas, it still feels very old. As I head out of Hobart and up the Derwent River and up into the higher country, I'm expecting some pretty sensational views. It started already in New Norfolk. This is Pulpit Rock Lookout, looking out over the Derwent River and Valley. Established in 1807 on the banks of the Derwent River, New Norfolk is Tasmania's fourth oldest European settlement. The next morning I woke to some pretty gloomy weather, but I decided to press on and explore anyway. And I'm glad I did. It's a pretty drive through beautiful green valleys. I'd love to show you more, but I have to focus on driving. This is when I need a sidekick to take the shots. Good morning. Back to beanie weather. It's pretty cool, but see, the air is fresh and clean here in the forest. I'm at Mountfield National Park, and I'm just doing a short walk to a waterfall, Russell Falls, and already it's really pretty. All these moss-covered trees and logs and tree ferns reminds me of the Dandenong Ranges just outside Melbourne. Wow, there's some tall trees here too. It is cold and it is wet, and it's not ideal that I'm just starting to hit the southwestern part of Tassie, so I'll actually be going up into the mountains over the next day or so, and forecasts are not great, down to 0, rain and winds, so I'll be braving the elements a little bit in Tassie, but that's all part of the journey. And the Western Tassie is known as the Wild West for a reason. It's beautiful. This little section is known as Glowworm Grotto. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. About a 15-minute walk above Russell Falls and you come to another waterfall. This one's called Horseshoe Falls. Beautiful, beautiful part of Tasmania, Mount Field National Park. With its giant tree ferns, mosses, lichens and running water, it was just so good for the soul. Quick leech check. All good, let's go. The southwest corner of Tasmania is nearly all national park and wilderness. To explore that, you need multi-day hikes. So instead I made my way through the beautiful dairy valleys of Ellendale and headed up towards the Central Highlands. Right through the geographical centre of Tasmania to an area filled with highland lakes. I continued zigzagging my way through the Central Highlands to the town of Derwent Bridge. There's not much here. There is a toilet block and you can charge your electric vehicle if you want, but there's no camping here. However, across the road at the pub, you can camp. At least in your van or your RV. They're quite happy for you to spend the night in the car park and appreciate if you buy a meal or a beer or something at the pub. Well, this is the bridge over the Derwent River that gives the town its name. But it's not what everybody comes here for. Now, when I asked on my socials where in Tasmania I should go, so many of you said, I have to come here. the wall. The wall is 101 hand-carved wooden panels telling the story of wildlife in the area and the hydro scheme, all created by an artist called Greg Duncan. Unfortunately, they're very strict. There's no photos and no videos inside, so I can't show you. And that's a great shame. I'd love to be able to promote it. I'll see if I can find anything online. These are lovely detailed sculptures, and the exhibition continues to grow. At the entrance to the wall are these bugs. They're beautiful. Town's not big enough for a pedestrian crossing, so you've got to watch out for the locals. The other reason people come here is for Lake St Clair. This is a national park. It's the southern end of the Cradle Mountain Lake St Clair Park. There are hiking trails that go right around the lake and all the way up to Cradle Mountain, but that's a multi-day hike. I won't be doing that. But I can give you a view of the lake. This is a natural forming lake, and it's Australia's deepest freshwater lake. It's recently they found it's something like 215 meters deep, and they're still searching for the deepest point. This little ferry comes 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, depending on the season, really. It's primarily just taking people who are doing the overland trek from one end of the lake to the other. The overland track is about a 6 or 7 day hike. It goes something like 65 to 80 kilometers over some of the highest territory in Tasmania. It's for serious hikers. This is an area where the weather can change really quickly and prove to be quite deadly. And it is a national park, so unfortunately I can't get you any epic drone shots because they're just not allowed in national parks. Well, I won't be staying at Lake St Clair because the forecast is for the overnight low to be -1, and Nessie's not really equipped for that. So I'm going to keep heading on, and next town is Queenstown. Well, the weather's starting to close in, and I can see snow on the nearby mountaintop, so I need to keep going because I don't want to get caught in a snowstorm. It's beautiful mountains, even though I'm not seeing them really clearly because of the weather. But this is a wonderful, wild part of Tasmania. Queenstown is an isolated mining town. It's best known for the barren mountains surrounding it It's often referred to as a moonscape. Queenstown was established in the 1880s. It became a centre for copper mining, and the copper smelter here was the largest in the southern hemisphere. But success came at an environmental cost. Most of the nearby hills were stripped of their trees for timber to be used in the mine's furnaces. Then toxic sulphur fumes used in smelting created acid rain, which killed off much of the remaining vegetation. What was left were barren hills that resembled something like a moonscape. And that unusual landscape started bringing tourists here. But when mining paused in 2014, something remarkable happened. Nature began to re-emerge. The mine's not closed, it's just paused. And that creates a dilemma for the people of Queenstown. Do they reopen the mine with all the economic benefits that brings and the destruction to the environment, which also brings tourism? Or do they leave the mine closed and allow Mother Nature to return to her former glory? The success of the mine meant Queenstown was pretty rich for a while, rich enough to have a fancy schmancy post office. These days they're pretty proud of their moonscape. It becomes a selling point for tourism, and tourism seems to be the biggest industry in Queenstown these days. All that copper had to make its way to market, and they found the best way to do that was to create a rail line from here to Strahan, which is the nearest port. That line's still open, but these days it's not taking copper. It's known as the West Coast Wilderness Railway. This rail line was opened in 1897, and it used cutting-edge engineering for its era to tackle some of the steepest and most treacherous terrain. Labourers had to use wheelbarrows, picks, shovels, even their bare hands to make the cuttings to put the railway line through. There's a small museum at the station documenting the construction of this railway line. Fascinating. The train from here leaves at 10 AM 5 days a week. It doesn't go all the way to Strahan because they need to do some serious maintenance in the steeper parts of the journey. But you can also take a locomotive from Strahan to the midsection as well. So if you wanted to see the whole track, you take 2 trains. Strahan is the access point for the Franklin-Gordon Wild Rivers National Park, which is a World Heritage listed area. Back in 1982, this was a town divided. There was a proposal to build a dam on the Franklin River. That would have meant jobs for locals, but it would have destroyed a pristine area. A strong campaign of protests by conservationists ultimately led to this area being listed as a World Heritage Area and being protected forever. And for locals, they still have jobs in tourism. Lots of people come here to take a cruise through the harbour here and up the Franklin River to enjoy a pristine environment. And a pretty and relaxing coastal town. But this area wasn't always so peaceful and idyllic. Back in the 1800s, it had a very different reputation. Way out in Macquarie Harbour, behind me here, was Sarah Island. That's where some of the most troublesome convicts from Port Arthur were sent. It's known to be one of the most isolated and harshest convict settlements in all of the colonies. There are regular tours to the island, giving you a chance to explore some of the ruins of the old convict settlement. Well, I've really enjoyed my time driving up through the Central Highlands, down to Queenstown and here to Strahan. It's a beautiful part of Tasmania. It's a fairly remote part too, but really enjoyable. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in next week's video. Copper mining began here, and it quickly became the Southern Hemisphere's... Get your facts right, Terence. Queenstown began in the 1880s when copper was discovered here. Quickly, copper mining began... There was a long and strong protest movement from conservationists. Oh, you idiot.